giving your friends the nigger pass. Is it ever appropriate to let non-black people say the N-word?
Is it ever appropriate for black people to say the N-word?
But not black people.
But no, but I'm asking the question.
You know what, that's such a hard conversation, but I think what I was going to say is, I feel like when white people are like, oh, why do black people say it? I feel like they should just not ask. Like, it's just not their place. Like, it doesn't have to have a reason or any like logical thing. They should just not ask and they should just not say it. So that's one point that I was going to say. And for the black people one, I'm kind of half torn on that one. I used to be like, oh no, black people shouldn't say it as well because it's just degrading themselves. But at the same time, I'm kind of not bothered if a black person. Like, if they didn't know me and they just came up to me and was like, oh, what's up my nigga or something, I'll just be like, okay. Like, but if it's I don't really see a problem with it, to be fair.
I feel like people who aren't black shouldn't be saying it in the first place. Same way, let's example, there's someone that's gay, don't go to them, call them that word, or if there was someone who like Asian descent, don't go and call them that word. So why is it the case where you should call us the N-word? Same way, I think that the N-word has been like commercialized quite a bit, like you see the music, you see the TV. So it's just like other like offensive terms aren't used in the media at all. They're never used in songs. So why is it that this word is not being used a lot? And going back to what you said about some black people use it as well, I think that's what plays a part in actually commercializing the word as well. Because I don't really think that. So for example, like, there was so many Asians calling themselves that in their song. So that's actually these gays. There's an effort in the song one time. The thing where if we are saying it, all it is just helping their racist cause.
I was going to say, I think that's where the issue is well for, let's say for example, white people, they always like struggle with, oh, because it's in the song, like, do I not sing it and stuff like that. But then, you know, you said about you don't see Asians. I have an Asian friend who's from Pakistan, right? And you know the word that is derogatory. She uses that just to be like, oh, he's also Pakistani, but she uses that word to describe him. But at the same time, I would never feel comfortable me actually saying that, like, regardless if I'm not being offensive. So, like, why do other, like, racists think that it's okay, like, to use it as like
I was quite like it's a more public for rather than a private conversation. Yeah, like all the big musicians. For example, kind of messaging you in Paris, so there you go. The thing where if we don't use it in public sphere as well, chances are most people will sort of feel like less inclined to use it.
Yeah, I think people use it because they want, in a way, try to reclaim the word, if that makes sense. It's like, if I use it to you, I'm not hurting you. Whereas if a white person says it to you, that is hurtful because of the historical background behind it. So it's a way of saying, oh, I'm using this word, but I'm claiming the word that I'm using and not giving you power over me.
I'm gonna say like, my mom says like, charity in that room. So, in other words, if we don't want them to say it, then she can use it to say it.
I think we get the right to. We get the right to use it.
But when you look at the context of the word, why are we actually using this word?
It doesn't make any sense, really. It really doesn't.
Yeah, that's what
it doesn't, like, we don't need to even fight for this word that they, like, we're putting ourselves in their trap. Of, you know, we're literally fighting over what they have created. There's not even something that ever belongs to us. You know, why are we fighting over that? Let's fight, you know, to better ourselves, not, you know, the N-word. You know,
it's funny you say that because I always use the N-word usually, or like the C-word, as like to insult other black people. No, do you know what I mean? When like someone's travelling, I'm like, oh, they're such a.
Oh, I don't know.
No, but do you know what I'm saying? So when you think about it, really, we shouldn't actually use it because if I'm already thinking it as a negative and I use it as a negative, then there's not really any positive connotation to it whatsoever. Like, no, do you get my point? Like, there's no positive. Yeah, so it's kind of like. Yeah, maybe you're right, maybe black people shouldn't use that at all.
I think we've got to a point where it's almost too late because it's funny to say it. No, it's funny. Like,
you see a meme, see the song.
You see a meme, it's funny.
No, I feel like it's...
Like when you see American drumming like, nigga!
No,
bitch!
that's what you're made to believe.
It's
normal to the point where you feel like you can't change it. But you really can. If people stop saying it,
but it will take a long time.
It's true. But that's the thing, the more it's repeated, the more you're going to feel like that. I feel like it's just mental enslavement. Because we all think, it's normal, like everyone's going to say, oh, it's going to take forever for everyone to stop saying it anyways. No, it just starts with one person. If the whole generation or whole community normalise it, then
no one's really going to think anything of it. And I feel like something that holds that much meaning should never be said by the people who suffered the most from that word. It just makes no sense.
But now we know better, like, you know, so we shouldn't even fight for this word. So I'm agreeing with you.
When I was younger, so basically where I'm from, there's so many white people, like there's literally no black people. And I used to think, I think I was really unawoke, like people used to say that word around me, were not like in a proper like racist way. And whilst I didn't encourage it, I didn't discourage it either, if you get what I mean. And I feel like now that I'm looking back and I'm just thinking like really and truly, like if anyone, that's why I don't think like white friends should have the NY pass, like, but you really need to set it out like, no, this is not okay, because at the end of the day, like, unless you tell them, they're not going to learn. And this applies to anything that they say or anything that they do, and like certain things that they do, like even like touching your hair and stuff like that. Like if you don't tell them, they're not going to know and they're not going to learn, sort of thing.
But then would you apply the same to black people? Would you ever tell a black friend to say the word? Why do you have to say white friend but not a black friend if the word is still the word?
Yeah, no, I mean, that makes sense. But I just meant generally just as in like white people. But then I think like, because right now I think it's because it's so normalised, if like a black person like said the word around me, I wouldn't feel offended. But then not that I'm agreeing that we should be saying it, if that makes sense. Like it's not really like, I don't feel uncomfortable if a black person says the N word around me, and it's like the whole idea like you were saying, like mental enslavement. Whereas if a white person said it around me, even if they weren't like actually being offensive or trying to be offensive, I'll always cringe a little bit, because it's kind of like, just don't say that word around me.
You can say it regardless, it's racist, like there is no way you can say it's not racist. Like,
no, I completely, do you get what I mean? Like,
I see what you mean, but
it's
like,
completely racist,
like,
but it's like the whole idea of like, oh,
it.
you feel weird like telling off your friend, you know, like this like barrier of like, you kind of feel weird of like telling your friend, oh, don't do this, don't do that. Do you know, it's that awkwardness. More than that, actually accept that it's, don't get me wrong, I don't think it's okay, like, but it's like awkwardness of like, oh, should I be? And like now it's like more, maybe now I'm more likely to say, because I'm a bit more confident in myself and like how I am, and I'm a bit more sure. But when I'm younger, like, especially for me, growing up where there's not other black people, like you don't want to be that person that's always like, oh, always offended by everything, because that's what they'll try to turn it onto you, like, oh, why are you being over offended? Why are you doing this? Like, and stuff like that. So you tend to like quiet down, you tend to not express yourself like as much and tell them no, this is not okay, like, and set it out like that.
I would say I got that quite a lot because again I grew up in like quite a predominantly white area, and like initially when I was like quite young, like, and people would say the word to me, I like, because it was coming in sort of not like a jokey way but more of like a violent, like there's a bit of hatred behind it, then I was like kind of just like, oh, just don't do that to me, don't do that to me. But then I continued that like throughout my life. So then when I'm getting to like 17 or whatever and people are still saying the word around me and I'm just like I don't think it's cool, then you get that backlash, like, oh, like why can't you have banter, like why is it so deep, like I'm not trying to be rude to you, whatever, but they just see it as like they're just like being jokey. So I think if we were like just to kind of just give like a sort of a blanket statement to everyone, like just don't use the word, then it would be easier, because it does sort of cause some confusion if we're going to tell like certain people. Like obviously I think that as a black person and other black people, they should have the right to kind of think about it themselves, and I think whether they want to use the word or they want to like claim it in the way that they like it helps them, but it does cause that confusion for the black people.
So what if a white person says the N-word and they're quoting it in a song, but you know that they're not racist themselves, like, because that person would argue, oh, I'm just simply.
Yeah, but why do they feel comfortable?
It's not their fault. A lot of these songs that you hear are, and that you hear the word nigger in it, they're made by black people. So I personally cannot blame them for feeling like it's okay to use the word, because we make it seem like it's okay to use the word.
That's what I'm saying, trying to begin that whole, because we have to start.
I feel like
I think we
something
get the
that
right
comes.
to make it okay to use the word, but then don't get the right to say it.
When we're making it okay, don't you think we're sort of like watering down the history of it slightly, because we know like the deep roots, and black people are still suffering. White privilege is still a thing. It's not like racism has been eradicated. So like, why do we still feel the need like to say the word? Why do we feel the need? It, like you guys have said, it does cause confusion. We want white people to accept that racism is not okay. You calling me derogatory terms is not okay. So we shouldn't really use the word in a. We shouldn't try and reclaim it.
Also, speaking about confusion, like, if for example I was mixed race.
No, I didn't.
See the end of that? Like, can I say it, can I not say it? How do you answer
Do
that?
you know what it is? I say answer it because historically, let's be honest, everyone that's not like black or something will say if you've got a little bit of black in you, you're black. And like, I'm never going to tell anyone how they should associate themselves, because they choose, like, you choose yourself like how you want to represent yourselves. Like, I don't know, for example, like, I'm Zimbabwean but I've grown up in Britain. Like, no one should be able to tell me that I'm not British. I should be able to choose like what I want, like whether I would choose to say that I'm mixed race or whatever, not that I am mixed, but do you get my point? So personally, a mixed person, if they said it, and if you're personally okay with black people saying it, then you should be okay with like mixed people saying it. Does that make sense?
I have a question. Basically, I was looking at the definition for racism, and just going to summarize, it's having a sense of discrimination or prejudice against another race based on your own personal beliefs and the knowledge that you think you're superior to them. So with this word now, for black people to say but not white people, could you say that we feel superior to have this word because they can't say, and the fact that they can't say is us being discrimination to them in a way? What do you say, sorry?
Because we don't even, well, I mean, does anyone think that black people should actually say the N-word?
Say in public.
I'm still a bit on the board on that one.
It's like when you think about where the word nigger even came from, it makes no sense to then say,
and the fact that people still use it now as derogatory.
What are you trying to reclaim?
You may not feel comfortable if you personally, you can only speak for yourself, like I don't feel okay using that word, but I can't tell them a black person you can't use that. If you want to use that, go ahead, my friend. You've earned the right.
But then you can't complain when white people are using it.
No, you can't. You have to tell this person off. You have to tell the other person off. Like, you can't pick and choose.
Because they're just going to be.
And also, what I'm going to say, what you say about context. What's that? Is it 12 minutes of staying? I can't remember. Like, who's Fiddler? The guy in Roots. Yeah, that's what it was. Basically, Fiddler was a black person. And he was in charge of like the other black states. He whipped them and shit like that, snitch on them. I feel like with the N-word, those of us who are trying to defend the N-word, like say, yeah, it's alright. I just see them as fiddlers. Like what you're doing is actually damaging to your own sort of race. So why are you fighting for it?
Finish.
Yeah, say something. Basically finish it. I just see it as that.
I was going to say it's not possible to change the meaning. Like, obviously back then, like, the word was to put you down. But now, let's say in America now, it was like, see how we say, oh my G, we're good, oh bro.
Yeah, no.
We're using it like that, saying. So it's like, they've changed it to...
No, it's not changed. You're deceiving yourself that it's changed. But the word is still from... Yeah, the word is still from them. It's like, the white people are laughing. They're laughing in their graves.
And the thing is, like, we want them to stay accountable, and like the whole reason why we're fighting is to make white people accountable. So I feel like I just don't feel comfortable, even if a black person is to call me the N-word. But having said that, I feel like we should still like let white people know that this term is still offensive, and like just don't use it. I get what you're saying about how like it causes confusion, but even still, like, white people, they need to understand that.
Yeah, like, okay, obviously the whole black people saying it doesn't have to be debated, but I mean,